above, extinguish fear, rise above.
Now, I can already hear some people going, hold on a minute, you're skipping things. Surely this is about Bill Gates and the mass vaccination program. Of course it is. But trust me, that's only one small aspect of it. I find it much more useful to look at the umbrella agenda, yeah? And the umbrella agenda every single time is Agenda 2030 from the UN. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a certain amount of aspects of it without even needing to talk about UN Agenda 2030. To start this story properly, yeah, we'll go back to 2016 and you're going to see some pretty known names straight away. This is the United Nations Office for Partnerships, the United Development Goals. The ID 2020 Summit in 2016. So ID 2020 has been talked about for a long time, yeah? On Friday 20th of May, 2016, ID 2020, a strategic global initiative launched in response to the Sustainable Development Goals 16.9, provide legal identity to all, including birth registration by 2030. In collaboration with the United Nations Office for Partnerships, hosted by the ID 2020 Summit, harnessing digital identity for the global community at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Around 1.8 billion people of the world, 1/5 of the world's population is without legal identity. Right, so straight away, this is a UN summit using Agenda 2030 as one of its sustainable goals, legal identity for the whole planet by 2030, and the plan that they can use to execute this is called ID 2020. So let's go to ID 2020 and see what it says. ID 2020, the need for good digital ID is universal. Well, that's what the UN told us back in 2016. Every single person on the planet by 2030 has to have a legal digital identity. The ability to prove who you are is a fundamental universal right. Because we live in the digital era, we need a trusted and reliable way to do both of these in the physical world and online. Okay. So if we go to the top tab and we press the alliance, who is ID 2020? Who's behind it? Who are the companies providing the technology? Let's have a look. First, I see a company called Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. Well, surprise, surprise, Gavi is Bill Gates's flagship vaccine company with the one and only purpose to vaccinate the whole world. Now let's just take a little side tangent before I look at the other players. Let's have a look on the Wuhan Health Organization's page for immunizations, vaccines and biologicals. And the first thing it says on the WHO is the Immunization Agenda 2030. The Immunization Agenda 2030, a global strategy to leave no one behind. This was written on the 2nd of April this year. Immunisation is a global health development saving millions of lives every year. So basically, okay, we can see here the Wuhan Health Organization, Agenda 2030, immunisations must be delivered to every single person on the planet by 2030. Okay, so that's a little bit of a sidetrack. Let's go back to ID 2020. So we can see the first person, Gavi, the Bill Gates Institution, which is, we know what Bill Gates' relationship with the Wuhan Health Organization. They have the same agenda to vaccinate 7-8 billion people by the year 2030. So there's our first link with Agenda 2030 on the first page of ID 2020. You can see how this is all intrinsically linked. It's basically one thing. The next partner is, oh, surprise, it's the Microsoft company. The American multinational technology company joined ID 2020 back in 2018. So it looks like they're going to be providing the software, the hardware, the technology. Next up, we've got Accenture, a global management consulting and professional firm. I've never heard of those. Let's have a look at Accenture. A very quick Google search. I'll just cheat. I'll just type in Accenture Gates Foundation. Just out of pure luck, out of pure chance to see what we get. Oh right, that's really surprising. At Davos, Switzerland, we know what Davos is. It's the sort of George Soros, super globalist, left-wing Bilderberg type group. At Davos, Switzerland, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation list one of their leading partners as Accenture. Okay, right, well, there's no surprises there. Okay, so we've got Bill Gates, Gavi. We've got Microsoft, Bill Gates. These are the people behind ID 2020, remember. The next one is Accenture, which is a global management consulting firm, a leading partner of the Gates Foundation. So that's Gates. Well, who's this? We've got one called IDO.org, and this is an international design and consulting firm helping poor and vulnerable communities, delivering ecosystems advisory committees. So I'm going to bet a lot of money. I'd bet £1,000 if I type in IDO.org and Gates Foundation. It's not going to take me long to find out exactly what the relationship between this company and Bill Gates is. So when we commenced our first one, IDO.org, when we commenced our partnership with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to figure out how to increase the adoption of mobile money, let's click this one. Unlocking the barrier to mobile money through agents. Okay, this is significant. While mobile phones in tens of millions of pockets across Tanzania and Uganda, it's never been easier for banks, mobile networks and their financial institutions to reach potential customers. So this company, basically, from my very quick search, shows that it's specialising in helping people in developing countries access financial services using mobile or digital or maybe wearable platforms. We'll come to that in a minute. And like partners, Airtel, Bill and Melinda, this is basically a Bill and Melinda Gates proxy company. Simple as. Okay, so we're seeing a picture evolve pretty easily here. That leads me to the fifth and final of the 5 partners of the ID 2020 agenda, and it's the only single company that isn't Bill Gates. So let's see what it is. It's the Rockefeller Foundation. Since 1913, the Rockefeller Foundation has sought to improve the well-beings of humanity around the world. The well-being of the humanity has always been the top priority of the Rockefeller Foundation. Everybody knows that. And we see the funding they started the funding in 2017 and have been one of the ongoing supporters of the ID 2020 work. So, ID 2020 wants to provide a digital identity platform for, obviously starting in developing countries. This is how it'll be delivered, and eventually to everybody in the world, so everybody has a digital identity provided by these people, Bill Gates, and the Rockefellers, by 2030. Okay, that's all good, but how does that link in with a vaccine? Because, you know, people might understand this, but I'll tell you now, I said back in March that this vaccine is going to be a platform for a digital identity and payment system, and people thought I was nuts and laughed at me. You know, because this microchipping people conspiracy, I was reading about this in 2003. People were writing about it in the 90s. Now, obviously, back then, people thought it was a stupid conspiracy. Now, people still think that, even though people are already voluntarily paying to be chipped in Scandinavian countries, etc., etc. So, you know, the first thing people say is, "Oh, you're going to say it's a microchip to track people." Well, if I was a fucking tool, I would say that, because it's much worse. Let's have a quick look. Right, so ID 2020, bringing privacy, protecting portable and user-centric digital identity to life. We support digital identity programs that both directly improve the lives and generate the needed evidence for how we maximise the potential of digital ID for everyone. So they want to maximise what this can do. Health and livelihoods in Mae La Camp. So this is what they've done in Thailand. They offered a digital identity platform to 35 externally displaced residents. Through their digital identities, the participants were not only able to access improved healthcare services, but also securely store educational and professional credentials. So you can store your CV on this digital wearable ID. You can store your educational qualifications, and what else? Objective, access if, how and what extent this digital identity service leads to individual adoption, improve healthcare services. Okay, so there's a healthcare service thing as well. Low income energy access for low income families. This program, led by Everest and TNP2K, will provide digital identity for members of 6,000 disadvantaged households who qualify for government fuel subsidies. The platform is expected to enable households to obtain their allocated subsidies while reducing delivery inefficiency, corruption and wastage. So basically, in developing areas where people can't access fuel, they will have to use their digital ID to get the subsidies from the government to get fuel credits. Wow. What else is there? Okay. Now, I just went through the partners of ID 2020. There's another tab that say, there was the founding partners, Gates, and the Rockefellers. Which I'll go into another video. There might be more of a link between Gates and the Rockefellers than people know. But anyway, there's another tab for general partners. Mercy Corps, a non-government humanitarian aid organisation, okay. Kiva, a non-profit organisation seeking to connect people through lending to alleviate poverty. So that sounds like someone that goes into war-stricken and disaster-stricken places and gives them loads of loans that they can never pay back, getting them into loads of debt. We've got iRespond, an international non-profit organisation dedicated to biometrics and improved lives through digital identity. Okay, well that sounds like the same thing as the whole ID 2020 sort of approach. CARE, a global federation to fight poverty. So there's lots of sort of charities. Berkeley, a premier research institution with policy labs in a variety of subject areas, including the impacts of emerging technologies on developing citrus. Join the okay. Simprint, startup, the University of Cambridge builds biometric fingerprint technology. So there's a lot of technology companies, but the most interesting one I think is this one called Hyperledger. It's an umbrella project to an open source blockchain and related tools. Hyperledger works at the frontier of emerging technologies. It joined the alliance in 2018. Brian Benendorf participates in the technical advisory committee. So, ID 2020 provides digital ID, access to healthcare, access to government subsidies, access to energy tokens, and they're already talking about blockchain technology. Remember that, we're going to come back to that one.
Poisonous, new forms more lethal. Evil spawn infects more people. They write the law, so it's legal. The poison dart is a nurse's needle. Shot first from a GP's pen, chosen first from the DSM. To target women, children and men. So there's a remedy for defense. The reality gets much worse. Sick minds no less than perverse. They patent the vaccine to fatten the purse. 6 months before the outbreak's rehearsed. Think about it. Let's make things clear. Inside the mind's the final frontier. Our demise has been engineered, so seek the truth or succumb to the fear.